Last class we have seen certain basic concepts on the various Android OSs or which OS is leading the market and a market share and all those information we have studied in the last class. So in continuation with that, in the today's class I would like to cover about start the discussion with the various kinds of mobile networks we have. Okay, what are all the various kinds of mobile networks? So 0G or 1G, 2G, 3G and 4G. So we have various kinds of mobile networks available, among which the first one is a 0G, which is known as mobile radio telephone system. It was mainly used in the year 1962. This generation had a lot of problems with the connectivity and has a limited number of users or else a limited number of subscribers. This kind of a mobile network was used in the year 1962. Okay, so which is having a lot of connectivity problems. The improved generation over 0G is a 1G. This was the first networks were launched in Japan. This generation had its drawbacks when it comes to security. As a user, we were able to listen someone else's conversation and hack the system to make free calls. So it means 1G is also having certain limitations like we can hack the calls and we can make a free calls, and whenever you are dialing some number even we can hear some other person voices also. All these a bunch of issues we have with 1G. So to overcome all those things 2G comes into a picture, which is the biggest improvement in a mobile communication networks. It was the first launched in the year 1991, okay, in a Finland using a GSM. So GSM means it's a global system for mobile communication. Few years later, CDMA was launched, Code Division Multiple Access, in a USA. Communication was a digital and encrypted. Whenever it was a digital and encrypted, the data is more secured. And here in the 2G, data services were introduced which were very slow. So that's the second point. But ultimately, the data services were introduced in this particular 2G. Okay, data services were introduced in this particular 2G itself. Cool. And then to achieve a higher data transfer rate, the 2G was extended with the GPRS and edge standards. GPRS is a 2.5G and edge is a 2.75G. Fine, whatever it might be. So 2D in 2G we have a data more and more secured, where in which it is encrypting the data and sharing in a digital format. Hence the data is more secured in a 2G. And the data rates and the data was introduced in the 2G itself to achieve higher data rates, both the CDMA and as well GPRS and as well as edge above comes into a picture. The next one is a 3G. It was introduced in 2001, which offers high speed data transfer up to 21 megabytes per second. Okay, so the next one is a 4G, or we can also call it as a long-term evaluation. With this 4G, you can transfer a huge amount of data if it is basically divided into two standards. One is a WiMAX and another one is a LTE. So the basic differences are the transfer rate between a WiMAX and a LTE is differ. That's it. The transfer rates between a WiMAX and a LTE is differ. So usually the smartphones will connect either with a WiMAX or LTE. If your phone supports a 4G networks, you will see an LTE or a 4G icon in the status bar of your phone. Okay, in the status bar of your phone, you can find that there's a LTE or 4G icon. Fine. So in the current market, we have a 3G and as well as a 4G too. Fine. And moving on to smartphones, this smartphones revolution was started in Jan 2007 when Apple launched its first iPhone. Okay, whenever Apple launched its first iPhone, the smartphone revolution was start. After 1 year, Google presented the first Android smartphone developed by HTC and the HTC Dream. And you can use this reference link to see what exactly the market share of each and every, okay, what exactly the market share of each and every mobile OS was represented here. Okay, so was represented here. Cool. So based on the need, we can customize this one. Okay, based on the need, we can customize this one. Edit this chart. Okay, so I just want this for graph for mobile version and a region is a worldwide. Okay, and the statistics are for platform comparison, or we can go for operating systems, mobile operating systems, and a view chart. So just whenever you customize this chart, automatically it will display this information. So over here, Android, iOS, and there are a few more OSs are there. Nokia, Windows, BlackBerry, Samsung. So these are all the various OSs. Whereas as per this mobile operating system market share worldwide from the May 2016 to May 2017, Android is having 69% of the shares, whereas iOS is having a share of around close to 18%. Okay, close to 18 or 19%. So this is a market share. How can we compare which market or else which operating system is leading the market? Okay, and then as you know that 99% the competition is between an Android and as well as an iOS. Here we have represented a pictorial view of both the Android and as well as an iOS. So the manufacturing company is Google and as well as an Apple. The OS family, Android will becomes into a Linux, whereas iOS will comes into OS X and as well as a Linux. These programs are written in a C, C++ apps in Java, whereas iOS it goes for C, C++ apps and Object-C and Swift. You know, Android is an open source and iOS is a commercial one. The manufacturer for these Android are Samsung, HTC, Sony. Too many mobiles manufacturers are there, whereas for iOS only Apple. And customability, almost everything we can change these whereas in iOS we have a limited customization. And then we do have a touch interfaces, and for voice commands we have a Google Now in Android, whereas a Siri we have in an iOS. Here we have a Google Maps and there we have an Apple Maps. Here we have a here we have a Hangout and there we have a FaceTime for a video chat. An Android is available in 32 languages, whereas an iOS is available in 34 languages. Okay, one is available in 32 languages and another one is available in 34 languages. Cool. Done. So once we are done up to here, the next one is these Android apps will be available in a Google, Samsung and a various Play stores, whereas these Apple will be available only in an app store. Okay, this will be available only in an app store itself. Great. So the next point is, okay, once after we have seen the basic comparisons between once after we have seen these basic comparisons between these two. Okay, so the next and most important thing which we need to consider out over here is what are all the various kinds of user interfaces we have on this Android or iOS. But prior moving into that, I would like to give you an overview on what are all the various types of mobile applications we have. Yeah, we need to know about the various types of mobile applications. So what are all the various types of mobile applications? So the various types of mobile apps are native apps, hybrid apps, and web apps too. Native, hybrid, and web apps. Native apps are programmed with a specific programming language for a specific operating system itself. So for example, Android apps are designed in Java, whereas iOS apps are written in an Object-C or a Swift. In most cases, native apps look and feel is great and are able to support every possible gesture on a touch screen. And these apps exhibits excellent performance and are optimized for mobile platforms. And even these apps can work offline also. Okay, we can access certain features available in this app even without an internet connection too. So this is a native app. And the next one is an hybrid app. App that consists of different web technologies such as HTML, JavaScript, something like that. Once the web part has been built, developers are able to compile this code based on the native formats like either Android, iOS, or Windows OS, something like that. The HTML content of a hybrid app can be hosted on a server. This approach makes it very easy to make a small updates without updating the whole app. Storing the information on a server has a one drawback. The content doesn't work when the phone is offline. Okay, so the another point which we need to consider is hybrid app are designed for multiple operating systems using a different technologies and without the internet or else we can't access any feature on a mobile whenever we are in offline. Okay, whenever we are in an offline, we can't access these mobile features when we are working on an hybrid apps. Cool. The next and most important app we need to consider is about, okay, so which is a web app. The significance of this particular web app is, okay, the significance of this particular web app is it's just a web browser. Okay, it's just a web browser itself. So the point out over here is basically whenever you are trying to open an application, okay, whenever you are trying to open an application on a mobile browser, then they have to optimize this application from mobile to mobile. Web app is just a website that can be accessed from device browser and are independent of a mobile platform. Mobile web apps have no access to the system apps like a camera and other features. So they are slower than native and as well as an hybrid apps. Whereas a native and a hybrid apps have an interaction with our system apps like a camera, compass and all other applications available in our mobile. Whereas the web app doesn't have such feature to interact with your mobiles. So here, the next few slides, I would like to explain you about the pros and cons of the three different apps which we studied. Okay, fine. So what are all the various pros and cons for these native and as well as an hybrid app? Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is, okay, so let's start with the first one, which is the pros of a native app. So these apps has a full access to platform specific hardware and as well as the software features. And these apps have a good performance because they are optimized for specific mobile platforms only. And these apps has a good look and feel and offers a good usability if the platform UI guidelines are met. And it has a full access to all the gestures, and then it is distribution is easy and we can find the app in a Play Store. And even these, the main advantage of this native app is we can store some data in offline also. Without an internet connection, we can access some information and even we can store some information to a native app. And the cons of this particular native app are, as we are designing this app specifically for one operating system, the development effort will be increased and the approval process is quite long. Updating a release, it may take some time. Okay, updating a release may take some time, and development cost is a bit higher, and you need to share 30% of your revenue with the platform providers. Okay, platform provider will have a share of 30% of the app revenue too. Fine. Done up to here. And then moving on to a next one, which is a pros and a cons of a hybrid app. So what are all the pros and cons of this hybrid app then? So there is one code base. The main advantage of this hybrid app is it has only one code base which works for different mobile platforms, and the framework offers access to hardware features. Small updates can be performed on a server. App distribution is easy. User can search for the app in a Play Store. Whereas the performance is bad whenever the contents are accessing from the server. Meeting the guidelines of a different mobile platforms is not easy, and the approval process is long for these hybrid apps. And it has a huge approval process for these hybrid apps. And moving on to a web app, in order to develop a web app, popular technologies are used, and these apps are faster and cheaper to implement than a native and a hybrid app. There are a mobile platform independent. There is an easy access to them via mobile browser. No app store submission is required. The updation process is fast and easy. There is a limited hardware access to our mobile, and we do have a limited offline behavior. Large media files such as videos, images can take a long time to download. It has supports different browser versions, and they are not convenient to view as a native app, and we can't find it in a Play Store. As it is a web app, we just need to hit the URL on a mobile browser. That's it. Done up to here. So these are the various kinds of apps we have. Guys, am I clear for everybody? Native, hybrid, and a web app? Or do you have any questions for me till now? If you have any questions, just text me in a chat window. Cool. So, Wasim, Sweta, Divya, Uma, am I clear for you four? Cool. And then the next one is the various types of applications, or else so we do have in a market, we do have a number of applications. There are a freemium, paid, and a transaction application. The freemium model is designed to reach as many customers as possible. The paid is quite simple. Before user downloads the app, they have to pay for that. And the transaction model, in this model, the user will pay only after the transaction is completed. The best example for this transaction app is a Ola or Uber. See, whenever you finish your ride, then only you need to pay money for them, which is a transaction kind of an app. Fine. The various kinds of Play Stores available are Google, Apple, Samsung, Vodafone, BlackBerry, Microsoft, T-Mobile. So based on the mobile, whatever we are using, you can get a Play Store for that particular mobile. Okay, based on the operating system, whatever we are using, we can use the corresponding Play Store for that. So the ultimate point for this particular session which we need to consider is about, you need to remember about the various kinds of mobile networks, the different kinds of apps, and as well as the differences among them. That's what the thing you need to consider. Okay, fine. See, whenever we are working on something, for sure there will be certain challenges. So the next point which I would like to bring up over here is challenges in mobile testing. Right? For sure everything will have challenges. Then what are all the challenges we have in this mobile testing then? Okay, what are all the challenges we have in this mobile testing? So mobile testing challenges are, the primary one is a customer, mobile platform and a fragmentations, various sensors and an interfaces, the system app, mobile browsers, internationalization and as well as a localization. So these are all the various mobile testing challenges. So let's see into each and everything. The first one is a customer. You know that the customer expectations are one of the main challenges for the mobile developers and the testers. To satisfy customers, it's really important that you gather information about your possible target customers and their needs. You need information such as gender, age, monthly income, education background, geographical background, what kind of an apps they used, whether they use a competitive apps, if so, are they happy with them or not, what kind of a devices they are using. All these information you have. You can use services such as a mobile person as to get information about the behavior of a mobile user. Person as can help a mobile team to get a feel for their customer needs and as well as their problems. Okay, so here if you observe, assume that this is the basic information whatever we have. So the most important thing which we need to remember whenever we are developing and testing is getting an user expectation. Okay, so the simple thing is, assume that I would like to download assume that I'm planning to design a code for a balloon shooting app. So prior that, we need to check for the similar kinds of an app. We need to check out the user ratings, comments on that similar app, so that we can understand the various kinds of an issues whatever the users are facing on a different apps. Based on that, we can consider our app in designing. Okay, there are users who usually complain about usability bugs or problems you never heard, and those comments will okay will help our team a lot in developing their effort. Okay, so the ultimate point is searching for the similar apps in a Play Store will gives you more and more scenarios for us to validate the application as well. Fine. So the next and a most important challenge here is about the mobile platforms and a fragmentation. So fragmentation is a huge problem in a mobile world and especially in an Android world. Based on the number from an open signal, nearly we have a 24,000 Android devices are available in the market. It's simply not possible and not necessary to test all those devices. And this is not the problem with an Android, and even with other OSs are also having this issue. So if you observe this picture, you can understand what are all these various fragmentations we have. See here, Samsung. So this is about the Samsung, and then these are all the Moto, and these are all the various kinds of device fragmentations here. Okay, and then a brand fragmentation, this is a Samsung, and then Lenovo, and those many brands are there here available listed out. And then OS fragmentation, so here they have a listed on the various kinds of operating systems and other things here. So the fragmentation was specified in this particular pictorial screen. Okay, in this pictorial screen you have whenever you can just look into this particular fragmentation signal. Okay, so you know that whenever we have these many bunch of uh, devices and all those things available, how we are going to test our mobile then, right? On which mobile devices we need to test and how can we test that scenarios? So the simple point is, in order to test those things, we need to divide our mobile into groups. Okay, so mobile device groups. So here we usually specify into 4 different groups. The first one is a top priority, wherein which are most likely used with the new devices with a powerful hardware and as well as the software and a big screen resolution and a pixel density as well. High-end devices, dual-core or quad-core processors. RAM is greater than or equal to 2 MB. Display size is greater than or equal to 5 inches. Retina Full HD. Latest operating system that is available for the device. So all these information should be there for these first set of devices. Once we are done with the second set, which is of a second priority, in this set, we need to get the devices in a mid-range with an average and smaller CPU configurations. Okay, with an average and as well as a smaller CPU configurations as screen resolution as well. The operating system for this group 2 would be probably 1 year old. Okay, cool. And the third one is group 3, which is of a third priority, where in which it has a small CPU, small screen resolution, and the software is more than 1 year or 2 years. So these kind of devices we usually go for. Okay, so here we are just specifying about. Okay, so we are just specifying about the various types of groups, right? Even we need to know how exactly we need to split these different groups, right? For that particular reason, we are studying this concept. Okay, for that particular reason, we have studied this one. So it means it's not possible for us to test the application on all the available devices. For that reason, we are using this basic bunch in order to test the system. Okay, cool. Done up to here. And then the next one is the various kinds of sensors and interfaces we have on any mobile device. So every mobile device has its own sensors. The various sensors like ambient light, proximity, acceleration, magnetic location, touchless, touch screen, camera sensors. So these are all the various kinds of sensors, whatever we have. So if you observe in detail about this one, the first one is an ambient light sensor. This ambient light sensor is able to determine how much light is available in a current location and automatically adjust the screen brightness by means of a software in order to prolong the device battery life. So the best example is you can check this app either in a dark room or outside of a sunshine. Okay, dark room or outside of a sunshine. And the next one is a proximity sensor which will decide how close your phone is located to your face or any surface. It uses to automatically turn off the display without any physical contact. So these sensors would be helpful in accidentally clicking on buttons on any active screen. It also useful for saving a battery life. Fine. And then the next type of a sensor is an acceleration sensor. The most common use for this sensor is whenever the device is rotated in between the portrait and as well as the landscape mode. If the both modes are supported, you should change the orientation. But there's an acceleration sensor. And the magnetic sensors and location sensors are used to get the complete GPS information, or else where exactly the device is. In order to know such information, so we are using these location sensors and magnetic sensors, and touchless sensors are used. Okay, you can answer a phone just by holding the device next to your ear without touching any button on the screen. Okay, so those are the various kinds of sensors we have. Usually, any touch screen contains these options only. These are features like a touch, a long touch, a swipe, tap, double tap, drag, a multiple touch, pinch open, pinch close, rotate, like that. On any kind of a mobile, we have to perform these operations itself. And camera, each and every mobile is having a higher resolution cameras, and even they are having a front and as well as a rear cameras, and a front camera is also having with a higher resolution. Okay, so generally whenever your application is using the camera, test the mobile or else test the application with mobile, various mobile devices that match your target customer group. You should check the performance of the app while the camera mode is activated. The camera takes up the lot of device hardware resources, which can be adverse impact in an app and causes to crash or freeze the app. And usually heavy camera use can heat up the camera sensors and cause damage to your mobile hardware. Okay, fine. So testing a camera functionality available on a mobile device is also the most important thing. System apps, those are the apps which comes with those are all the apps which comes with a mobile device itself. Internationalization means designing the application with the multiple programming language, multiple languages where majority of the people are using. Localization means it's gonna be adapted for a specific region or else a specific language. And even earlier we studied about a mobile browser. These are the apps which are developed with the latest UI technologies, and these apps just have a limited feature on a mobile hardware. So here this pictorial representation will shows you the various kinds of mobile, okay, the various kinds of mobile browsers available and their configurations. That's it. So we are done up to here, guys. So the next and most important point which we need to study is about the Appium documentation part, or else the Appium concepts. So here, if you observe this course content, we studied about this introduction part in a day one, and in addition to that we have finished two more concepts like overview on general mobile testing, and in the next class we need to study about Appium prerequisites and installation for Windows. We are going to finish it by tomorrow. Okay, so we are going to finish it by tomorrow, this concept, and later we will study about the APK files and other stuff in a Monday session. Okay, so here we have an organized course content. Okay, we have an organized course content listed down over here, which we can study, which will be helpful for us to understand what are all the concepts we are studying moving further. Fine. done up to here.